Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on this very urgent Facebook Live. I wanted to come to you today because we just found out that the left is organizing a huge rally in Washington, D.C. on August 29th to put pressure on Congress to bring 200,000 refugees into the country because they want to help Obama bring the refugees. Now, before I go into any more details as to why we need to stop this and why this is so important, I want to give you an idea about how this whole refugee resettlement happens in America and how these refugees are brought into the country. You see, the United Nations decide what refugees come to America. The United Nations are working under the influence of the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. This is why we see a lot of Muslim immigrants, Muslim refugees are being resettled in the United States. So the United Nations Human Rights Commission or the Commission on Refugees start working with the State Department on deciding what refugees come into America. Once it has been decided what refugees come to the United States, then the State Department works with 9 federal contractors. These are organizations in America. 6 out of them are religious organizations bringing in refugees in the name of compassion, while at the same time making millions of dollars from the government, from our taxpayer dollars, to resettle these refugees. So this is a money-making operation to the tune of $1 billion. And these church organizations are not basically passing the bucket on Sunday morning to collect the $1 billion for the resettlement. They are basically getting it from our tax dollars, your tax dollars, and mine. So once these 9 federal contractors are now in charge of dispersing the refugees are then sent to 190 cities across America, cities and towns, to settle these refugees. Once they are there, these refugees are then divided among 350 subcontractors who work with the federal contractor, and each subcontractor works on resettling the refugees. For every employee out of these 350 start working with one refugee for 6 months, giving them their benefits, welfare, health insurance, food stamps, everything that they need. And then once they're done after 6 months, the whole process starts again, now in bringing the relatives of the refugee that they just resettled. It is a money-making machine and a money racket while they are shoving refugees down our throats that we do not know who they are. We do not know whether they are stating their real names or not. We know that ISIS already infiltrated the refugee population. We already see how the refugee population is wreaking havoc on Europe. Just look what's happening in Germany, what's happening in Belgium, what's happening in France. The last thing we need is to bring refugees here. But because of all the money-making operation tied to the refugees, this is why the left is fighting to bring more refugees and stand with Obama to bring more refugees into the country. Not because of compassion. Get that idea out of your head when you hear your priest or your pastor tell you, oh, we're bringing them out of compassion. Total baloney. These organizations are making millions of dollars from our government. Now, why should we be concerned about the refugees coming to America? Other than the fact that we are concerned about terrorists coming within the refugee population, let me share with you the criminal side that these refugees are bringing. And we already have seen this in Europe. Look at the rape in Germany. Look at the sexual assault in France. All over Europe right now, look how they are treating women. Right now in the United States, just from the refugees that we have already resettled in the United States, crime cases of rape and sexual assault are on the rise in the state in which these refugees have already been resettled. And here's an example of what I'm talking about. Here are cases that have already been recorded in the United States of rape and sexual offenses. Massachusetts, Idaho, Virginia, Utah, California, North Dakota, and Minnesota all have one thing in common. The perpetrators were all resettled refugees. And not only rape, The other thing we are concerned about is the diseases they are bringing with them. Tuberculosis, for example, a disease which has almost been eradicated from the United States, is now exploding across the United States. This is the hush-hush information that the media is not sharing with you, and those who want to bring the refugees are not sharing with you. But let me share with you how bad tuberculosis right now is expanding in the United States because of the refugee population. Here are the cases of tuberculosis now among refugee populations in America. Colorado has 16 cases, Ohio 11 cases, Vermont 35 cases, Wisconsin 117 cases. And by the way, the cases in Wisconsin, the majority of them are drug resistance. That means that they are not just regular tuberculosis that can be easily treated. It costs $150,000 per person who is a drug resistant, who has tuberculosis, $150,000 from our taxpayer dollar going to treat those refugees, and it takes 6 to 8 months for them to be treated. Florida, 11 cases, Idaho, 7 cases, Indiana, 4 cases, Kentucky, 9 cases, North Dakota, 4 cases. These are serious numbers and these are facts. So why this is urgent? Because the left right now is organizing nationwide all these federal contractors and the subcontractors who stand to receive millions of dollars from the Obama administration are organizing a massive rally in Washington, D.C. on August 28th, just in a week or 2 weeks from now, asking and demanding from Congress to approve Obama's proposal to bring between 100 and 200,000 refugees into the country within the next year. Obama is speaking before the United Nations and having a special session in New York while they're meeting at the United Nations on September 19th and 20th, telling the United Nations that he is going to bring into America up to 200,000 refugees within the next year, starting this October. This October. He's not going to wait till next year when we have a new president. Therefore, he wants to make himself look good in front of the world body who's all going to be meeting from all over the world, because he promised Angela Merkel that he's going to do the same thing. America is going to help the refugees just like Germany. And this is why he wants to make sure he can go before the United Nations and say, we are bringing 200,000 refugees into the United States, and Congress has approved my proposal. So the left is rallying on August 28th. Obama is speaking before the United Nations, telling them he wants to bring 200,000 refugees on September 19th and 20th. Our national conference is dead smack in the middle. It is September 6th and 7th. Why is this urgent? Because if the left is going to show up with thousands of people to Washington, D.C. to put pressure on Congress to approve Obama's proposal to bring 200,000 refugees into the country, those of us who love this country, who want to protect this country, who do not want America to turn into another Europe, because we are seeing what's happening in Europe right now, we must show up in force September 6th and 7th and meet with our members of Congress and let them know that not only no, but hell no to bringing refugees into the United States and turning America into another Germany. This is our opportunity. This is urgent, urgent. Any of you who are watching right now, any of you who have been forwarded this, whether you're watching it live or it has been forwarded to you, please share this with everybody that loves this country, who cares about this country, and tell them we need to show up in force in Washington, D.C., September 6th and 7th, and act for America. Join us for our national conference. We are now offering it at the very special price between now up until the national conference of $229 per person. This is our bare knuckle cost expense. Bare knuckles. We're not making a dime on it. We want to make sure we make it affordable to every single patriotic American to show up to Washington, D.C. and stand with us and send a very loud message to Congress, because we know already how the left is going to shout to bring refugees into the country. We want to send a very loud message to members of Congress that we do not want them to approve Obama's proposal to bring refugees into the United States. We do not want to give Obama the freedom to be able to stand in front of the United Nations and say, we're going to bring 200,000 people. America is promising 200,000 people. So right now, if you go on our website, actually, if you go on actcon2016.com, actcon, ACTCON 2016.com, actcon2016.com, and register for our national conference right now and let them know your opinion about this refugee issue. This is our chance. All you have to do is show up. You don't even have to pick up the phone and make a phone call. We are lining the appointment for you. All you have to do is show up. You will be able to listen to subject matter experts. I'm going to be opening the national conference with a speech about the refugees. I'm going to give more details. If you think you heard important information right now, wait until you hear me speak for 1 hour about the refugee resettlement in the United States and why we need to stop it. You're going to be hearing from subject matter experts all day on Tuesday, September 6th. September 7th, we're going to be up on Capitol Hill for a free legislative briefing by members of Congress that is free and open to the public. So if you live anywhere near Washington, D.C., come to that briefing. And then in the afternoon, we are lining up appointments for only our national conference attendees to meet with their members of Congress and lobby to stop the Congress from approving the refugees coming to the United States. Go to our website, actcon2016.com, and register for the national conference. I appeal to you. This is our opportunity to turn the ship around, to turn the tide of bringing massive refugees into the country and make sure Congress understands with no uncertain terms that we want to make sure they do not approve and they shut down Obama's proposal to bring refugees into the country. We cannot have that. This is so important. The left is going to show up by the thousands. Right now, we need to show up by the thousands. And right now, we barely have hundreds. We need to show up by the thousands. This is your opportunity. This is the opportunity of everybody that loves this country to show up and make a stand. This is our chance. We're not going to be able to change it after the refugees are here. Germany is not going to be able to change it when you have 1 million refugees in their country. They cannot change it now. The enemy is already inside the gate. We in America, our gate is still closed. It's still shut down. Let's make sure we do not open the gate.